within our onboarding process as of late. Many of you we know already have established sales meetings, but some of you have not. Some of you are coming in and looking for best practice recommendations. Weekly sales meetings we find are the most important tool to be able to be effective with follow-up. A couple reasons being, obviously, we want your users to be updating their data on a daily basis. We want your estimators to be putting things in. We want your projects to be updated. The status is updated, all of those things so that your analytics are correct and you can rely upon them. Implementation is something that is always a new habit for users. But if you have a weekly sales meeting where you actually have the individuals within your teams taking responsibility for present for themselves their information, their projects within the system, you're going to bet that, even if they haven't been in follow-up for a few days at, 12 a.m. the night before, they're going to be updating those things to make sure that what they present to their team is correct and looks good and makes them look great. And we all love that. And that's a win-win all around. So that's a really great best practice, is to be using these meetings on a weekly basis. And like I said, to be having your team take personal responsibility to, pull follow-up up on the screen and have them pull up their own account and go through their different projects and things like that. It's a really great way to add the personal responsibility element within that. Setting goals. You'll notice that we've got Posey coming in here, but setting goals.
Posey's my coworker. Yes.
The bestie. Setting goals too. You'll notice that there are pulses with the sales activities. You can actually set quotas or goals. So if your team doesn't currently utilize like the quota or goals section on your dashboard, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help you learn how to implement that. But there's a really specific reason why we have the ability to track your sales activities, including your comments, because we actually did some research and analytics, on our end. Our power users, our teams that use the system the best, do the most comments, leave the most comments, and have the most activity within their sales activities. So they use their activities, they schedule them, they monitor those, they check them off. And those are the kind of two, tools that the power users use the most. So that's why we have the quotas and goals set up around those. So other things, that these sales meetings help you do is allow you the ability to find out what your team needs to be able to be winning these projects. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to pass it on to Christine. I know she's got plenty of other things probably within that, so feel free to back end and piggyback on some of those sales meeting tips, and then just move it right along, Christine.
Awesome. I would actually love to hear in the chat too, how many of you are already running sales meetings and how many of you aren't running sales meetings yet. One of the things that we believe, to tag on to what Rachel was saying is, sales meetings are one of those things that drive accountability. You're implementing follow-up is you're saying to yourself like, hey, we want to make sure that we have a system that houses all of our information. But if you have a system and then don't use that system to drive accountability, you're really missing out on moving forward together as a team and the ability to grow faster. So 3 things that drive accountability. One of them is using follow-up in your weekly sales meetings. A lot of our clients will put it up on a screen, or they'll have their team members present. And I'm going to go over exactly what they present and the reports that they run to prepare for those sales meetings today. But one, we want to use follow-up in our sales meeting to help bring that accountability. 2, back to what Rachel was talking about, having quotas. Even if your company doesn't have an individual quota for each person, you can start a baseline quota. You can have incentives or healthy competition within your team. All of these things drive accountability, right? Because people we're working with salespeople, right? I'm working with a lot of you who are trying to sell me on things all the time. You're asking for discounts or whatever else you want, and your sales teams are exactly the same. So healthy competition is really, really valuable within a team, even if it's like, hey, I'm having a really hard time getting all of my team to commit to putting the information in follow-up because they're too busy doing other things. Well, the truth is they're too busy to not be putting it into follow-up because you're missing out on work and you're losing accountability when that's not happening. So saying, hey, everyone who has every project in follow-up gets, or whoever does the most hours in follow-up this week or whatever it is, have some kind of marker and say, hey, we're giving a $50 gift card, or they get a $5 Starbucks, they get free Starbucks, whatever it is, those little tiny incentives end up being big reward payoffs for your company. And then lastly, our most successful teams, the way that they do this is they'll say, Compensation is based on the dollars in follow-up. If it's not in follow-up, it does not exist. And so I find that this really works with teams who are having a hard time getting things implemented well. And we'll have to say, hey, but that means that you as a leader, you have to draw that line and be consistent and accountable to yourself with all of your team members. You have to have the same level of accountability for everyone, but I've never seen that not work. So every time I've seen that, people have their stuff in the system because they want to get credit for the projects that they're selling. So those are some really great ways. Even if it's not a weekly sales meeting, I see some people do a bi-weekly sales meeting. That's totally fine. But the other thing that I really want to stress about a sales meeting is having a sales meeting focused, not on project management of pre-construction and operations, but a sales meeting focused on, okay, what are we bidding this week? What are we trying to close? And who needs help doing what? Because if you have a sales meeting where you're focusing on all the production and the things that are already happening, that's great. But if you try and include the sales portion of your sales meeting with the stuff that you're bidding, it somehow gets all muddied, and certain, bunny trails happen and people are answering cell phones and all kinds of things are happening in that meeting. But if you can do like a 15 or 30-minute focus session of just where you're talking about, what are we bidding this week? What are we trying to capture? And what do we think we're going to lose? And then have those conversations, it's really going to benefit you guys. So what I want to go into next are some reports that you can run to prepare for your sales meetings. So you may or may not know this, but you can schedule reports to be sent to your email automatically. And we have some tools within Followup that help drive accountability and help show you what your team's been doing. Sometimes people will reach out to me and they'll say, Christine, has so-and-so been in the system? Well, it doesn't really matter if they've been in the system or not. Have they completed any activities? So I'm going to show you today how to see what activities your team has completed, what they've been doing in follow-up, and then we're going to go into some of the reporting that people use to prepare for their sales meetings. Okay? All right. So today I'm going to be using Best Roofing System here. And what we're going to do first is I'm going to show you what I think is one of the most helpful tools in follow-up for seeing what your team's been doing. And a lot of teams will use this report card feature during their weekly sales meetings. And I'm going to tell you like some of the best practices that you can do with a report card. I'm going to look at a user. I'm going to do last 7 days, and I'm going to look at user Alberto, and I'm going to hit apply. So basically I'm saying I want to see everything that Alberto did in the last week. I'm not going to filter by office or contract type. However, if you need that division, you can add those additional filters. I'm going to hit apply, and it's going to show me what Alberto has done in the last 7 days. Now I can expand all or contract all. So if I expand it all, it's going to show me everything. Or I can just look at these individual areas. So what this is showing me is all of the activity that Alberto's done. He has bid and put 8 projects in his pipeline. He's secured 6 contracts at these contract values. And then these are the sales activities he's completed. He's completed 21 comments. He's drafted 7 proposals, 7 estimates. He delivered 7 proposals. He did 4 takeoffs, and he had 1 hard bid. So you can see his projected hours. He did about 43 hours of work in his follow-up this last week. Alberto has done everything we want him to do, right? This is my favorite person to show. But what I really think helps drive accountability is to give goals to your team of what activities you want them to be completing. I think all of us as employees, even as an owner of a company, you like to know what's expected of you and what needs to be done. And our employees, like our team, they like to know what needs to be done. So a lot of our teams will say, hey, I need you drafting at least 5 proposals a week. And then they present their report card and it shows, hey, I drafted 7. I was able to do 2 extra proposals. And then the other huge one that Rachel talked about earlier was comments. So what we've noticed is people who are leaving a lot of comments on their projects have the best overall visibility for their team. So what that means is every time you are calling a client or emailing a client and following up, you're making a note in your follow-up saying in that project file saying, hey, I called the client, didn't get a hold of them. I'm calling them again tomorrow. The client called me today. I talked to them for 15 minutes. They're not ready for the proposal yet. They asked me to reach out in 3 days. So let's say Alberto has made all of his notes in the project and then somebody calls into the office, but Alberto's not there. Well, that person who they called can look up the project that Alberto has commented on and have all of the details and see all of the emails. And that is what is, creating a smooth workflow. There's no break because Alberto's not available at this moment or he's out of the office. Maybe Alberto is sick or he's on top of a roof, whatever it is, it doesn't matter because all of his information is in follow-up. So if there's like one thing that you're like, man, I really want to take away something that's going to help drive visibility and accountability within my team, ask your team to say, hey, I want you making 15 comments every week and I want to see it on your report card. Because that means they updated 15 projects and that's great. That's what we want to see. And obviously it's going to depend on your business, on how many projects your team is managing. But obviously you want them following up on most of their projects every week anyway, right? So if you think they're running 20 projects a week or 10 projects a week, give them that. And you can give lower numbers in the beginning. And then if you see every week during their presentation during your sales meeting that they're highly exceeding their numbers, then you can raise their goals. But give them small goals in the beginning and help everybody crush those goals in the beginning and then celebrate. So I think that's something that's really, really helpful. The other cool thing about the report card is you can now export this to Excel. If you want to have it printed in your sales meeting, you can also schedule it. So if you want to have this automatically emailed to yourself and your salesperson, you can do that and say, hey, we're going to review this on email every week. I'm going to email you and say, hey, great job, or hey, what happened? Why aren't your activities completed? So that's one of the main things that I think is super helpful in your sales meetings. The other reports that are really, really great are here under the report tab. So under the report tab, we have all of our reports. The first one I want to go over is this executive overview. This is a quick executive overview. I'm just going to run this for Alberto because I'm in Best Roofing System and they have a lot of data in their system. And I'm just going to do I'll do last 30. And we'll do this for Alberto. I'm doing the executive overview. Now, obviously, a lot of times when you run this report, you're going to run it for the company so you can see everybody's information at the same time. You're going to get this notification when you run the report. All you have to do is hit refresh on your screen. Once you do that, your little bell notification is going to go up. You're also going to receive this report in your email. So I can download the report. And then what the executive overview is going to show me, it's going to show me everything that was put into the pipeline during the time frame that I selected and all the contracts that have been won. So here, this is everything that was put into the pipeline and what the current sales status is, what the bid date was, and who's working on it. And then as I go over here, I come down, I can see all the activities he completed. The different summaries for the different offices, the sales statuses that are here. And then here is a list of all the contracts that he was awarded. And then down at the bottom, I have summaries for each office as well. So this is a really comprehensive report. You can run this for your whole team and you're going to see everything that's in the pipeline and everything that's contracted. And then under the bottom here, you have it separated by pipeline and by contracts. So this is a win-win, no-brainer report that you can run quickly. You can also have this one scheduled. A favorite report around here is the One Contracts report. So One Contracts is going to show you everything with a contract date within the time frame you selected. So we're looking at the last 30 days. It'll have everything with a contract date in the last 30 days. I think that this one is just fine to run as a PDF. If you want all the lines, you want to manipulate the report, you can run it as an Excel, but I think this one is fine as a PDF. So we're going to run the PDF. It is going to separate month by month. So if you're running this for multiple months, it will separate the months for you and have the dollars at the bottom. And if you ever notice that your base bid dollars and contract dollars are different, that just means that the base bid was different than what the contract amount was. Or sometimes what we see is contract values missing because people put in the base bid and forgot to put in the contract value. So if you ever see that, you can go ahead and make the contract value required when a project goes into contract, or you can have a conversation with your team and say, great job, but you're not getting any contract dollar credit for this because you forgot to put in the contract amount. All right, so then down here at the bottom, you'll see if we ran this for your whole company, you would see all of your sales guys as the account manager, the estimators, all the base bids and the contract values that are associated with their name appear here. Next, we're going to run the bid list report. The bid list report is best to run not for the last 30 days, but for the next 30 days. This report is telling us, hey, what bids do I have coming up that I need to focus and work on? So I'm going to do next 30 days. I'm just going to go ahead and run this for the company to make sure I get enough data here. Run it as a PDF. All right. Well, they only have one. But what this is going to show you is every project that has a bid date in the future, which is super helpful. If you're planning for your next week and you want to say, hey, what is everything we've got on our list for bidding this coming week? This is the report you want to run. It's going to help make sure there's a division of all of the reports or all of the projects properly. If something didn't get assigned to someone, it's going to catch that. And you're going to say, oh, we don't have a takeoff person, an estimator, or an account manager on this project. We got to make sure somebody gets assigned so we don't miss the bid date. So this is great for planning. Hey, what do we have coming up? Do we have enough hands to do everything that's on our board? Next, we're going to do the bid proposal report. So I'm going to run the bid proposal report. I'm going to do last 30 days. For Alberto. So the bid proposal report is going to show you everything that has a proposal delivered date, whether it's been checked off or not. So everything that should be in the pipeline is going to be on this report. So we're going to check like, hey, what is our pipeline looking like? How many of these projects are still in our pipeline that we bid in the last 30 days? What's already moved to contract? What never got bid, it doesn't have a dollar amount on it. So we know we missed the bid date. That's what this information is going to show you. Let's go ahead and get a report on this one. This one I like to run as an Excel because I like to be able to change the filter and do things like that in Excel on the bid proposal. All right, so here it's separated. We have all of our project names here. We can see where our contacts are, and then all of our proposal delivered dates. What's really cool about this report is, let's say we ran the report for the last 30 days, but let's say we have a revised proposal delivered that's outside, or let's say the proposal delivered date was 2 months ago, but there's a revised proposal happening this month. It's still going to pull into the report, even though the proposal delivered date doesn't match. It's going to pull in all of your revisions that are coming up. So that's something that's really nice about this report. You can see who's working on it, what your sales statuses are. I could go ahead and sort this by, and then I could, let me see here, filter. And then I could say, hey, I don't want to see any of our close. I don't want to see the contracts or the dead. Then I could say, okay, this is what we really have. Okay, we've got, this one doesn't have a bid date. What's going on here? This one hasn't been bid yet. Okay, it's the 23rd. This was yesterday. Did we get this taken care of? And then what I love about this report is it shows you that all of this one, Best Roofing is really on top of their game. Alberto is really on top of his game here. every single project that's in his pipeline has a follow-up date, which is key. This is a report that helps you see everything that's in your pipeline, and then you can make sure that everything that's in your pipeline has a follow-up date. And this is where I see people time and time again win against their competition because they are following up. Follow-up's the name of the game, right? So if you are following up on a consistent basis, even if it feels annoying, you're more likely to win that project than somebody else that bid to the same person because you followed up more times. I cannot tell you how many times clients tell me, hey, we followed up 4 times and we won the project and I had no idea we were going to even win, but nobody else followed up with this client. They say it takes between 7 and 12 follow-ups to win a commercial bid. So it takes a lot of patience, a lot of follow-ups, but it's all about that relationship, right? It's about our relationship with you, your relationships with your clients, following up, knowing your people, and being consistent. Because if you're consistent in the process of bidding, they're going to trust you to be consistent in the process of their construction. And that's what we really want, right? So this is key. If you notice that you run this report and a bunch of follow-ups are missing, what I would suggest is handing this report to your team, highlighting the ones that are missing and saying, by next week in this meeting, I need all of these to be updated, please. This is not your job to fix for your team. It's your team's job to fix for you to help you guys move forward. Because if you just correct all their mistakes, you're not going to get anywhere very fast. It'll just be a lot more headache for you. So we want to teach good skills. And this is one of those ways that you guys can do that. All right. Another report.
And that's the bid pipeline report, right, Christine?
That's the bid proposal report.
Bid proposal, yep.
Bid proposal. Okay, perfect. All right. Then next, I just have a couple more. We're not going to take too much of your time today. A couple more that I want to review with you. One of them is the lead recap report. A lot of times people will come to us and say, hey, I'm not sure where our leads are coming from or where we should be spending our marketing dollars. Well, there's a report built in to help tell you that information. And this is the lead recap report. What this report is going to do, it's based on when the project was entered into follow-up. So anything that's entered into follow-up, and then you have a drop-down. Most of you should have a drop-down that's called lead source or lead from. And this is saying, hey, this is where the opportunity was generated. So I'm going to go ahead and do, I'll do this, get report. Now here it's going to give you options of where you want the sources. My suggestion is even if you only care about referrals, go ahead and select all of them because then it's going to give you the proper percentages on the breakdown of the report. So we want all the percentages and not just based on one item. We want it based on the numbers based on all of them. So we're going to get report. This exports and downloads as a PDF. And then here we can see where the lead sources were. So these leads came from an account manager. These ones were from current clients. These were from referrals, marketing, roof consultant, website, general contractors. So we can see where all of his leads came from in the last 30 days, what the current status of these opportunities are. And then down here at the bottom, we can see a summary of his stuff. So we can see, okay, out of the 44 that were current client, 64% of the proposal dollars are there. And then 92% of contract dollars come from those current clients. So they know, current clients are really high. So what can they do to continue building relationships with current clients? Because they know people come back and they do great work with them. And then you can say, well, marketing looks like we got one, it didn't produce anything, no contract dollars, maybe, so you can kind of make some business decisions, especially if you're using tools like, Dodge Report and these other things that help drive leads to your business that you're paying for. Well, if you're paying for some kind of marketing service to drive leads, this is a great way to track, okay, is that going to pay off for me? Is it paying off? Let me look at the last 3 months of my leads and did any of those turn into contract dollars? Maybe they had a high percentage of proposal dollars, but nothing ever became contract. So this is a great way to see what's going on. All right. And then lastly, one last report here, the dead recap report. The dead recap report is going to show you everything that was lost within the time frame that is selected. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this for Alberto. This is also going to export as a PDF. And you can see these are all of his dead projects, and it's going to pull the last comment. If that is selected, what I would suggest is you can require the last comment or comment when someone updates the status to dead. And then this report is going to pull the last comment for that project. So if the last comment was an email, it's going to pull that email. And then you kind of have an idea of why the project was lost. So this one, no longer responding to our emails or calls. Currently, this project will not be moving forward. So you kind of have an idea by looking at this report why things were lost and you're not confused anymore. So that's all the reports that I have for you. There are more reports, but honestly, if you can start, it's hard. I think sometimes we tell ourselves we have to use every single feature for the product to get the right value out of it, right? But really, if you're holding your team accountable, you've got your projects in here and you run a couple of reports, you're really, really winning. So just to recap, it's this one contract that's going to show you all of your contracted work. Your bid proposal report is going to show you, hey, what's in our pipeline? Make sure you have follow-up dates. Bid list is going to show you, hey, what's coming up in our pipeline? Like, what are we going to be bidding soon? Lead recap is showing us, you know, where are our leads coming from? Where can we spend our marketing dollars? And then the dead recap is showing you, hey, this is what we lost. This is what happened. And this is how we can get better. And that's all I have for you guys today.
That's great. Thank you so much, Christine. Christine, that dead recap report that you just showed, I just wanted to link back. We also mentioned how important project comments are, right? And so if your team is entering comments on why something is lost, that shows there. So you can see how some of these features work together to give you a really holistic picture of what's going on within your company. So thanks again, Christine. So helpful. Yeah, thanks for joining in today. Thank you for spending time with us. We really appreciate it. And as always, happy selling.